Hello, beloved listeners, and welcome to Snake People at the Movies, film criticism by people who actually like film. Join us as we dive into movies we love, movies we respect, and movies we wish we could unsee. It's the podcast where we talk about growing up and living queer, nerdy, and depressed, online and at the cinema. From the kids who are banning the use of the phrase modern classic, it's Sneople at the Movies. I'm Ezra.
I'm Helena.
And I'm Maddie. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
It's not, as the time of recording, Halloween has not happened for us yet, but by the time you hear this, it will have happened, so, I hope it was a good one. I hope you had a good
This
good
episode
time.
is coming out, like, the day before my birthday, isn't it?
Happy early birthday, Ezra!
Thank you.
We'll need to let you pick the theme for the next episode.
I was gonna say, fortunately, last year I inflicted the Ken Branagh movies episode on everybody, and this year I can't do that again, so you're free.
No, you get to pick something else for next episode, so you have time to think about what you would like to make
Halloween, which means I can't inflict the episode that's all about Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow, and yes, I know it's bad, but I love it anyway.
That could be next year's Halloween episode. We'll put that in the brain docket.
Okay.
For next time. This time, however...
The brain docket, yes.
I'm a genius. Leave me alone. So this time, Helena had an idea for an episode. Do you want to kind of share your brief pitch for it before we go into what we sneak?
Yeah, sure. I'll try and be, hopefully, specific. This was inspired by seeing Rebel Without a Cause a few weeks back and really enjoying it. I just kind of wanted to talk about classic movies this week, and specifically, I think, our relationship to classic movies and, trying to define what we think classic movies are and what the general cultural understanding of a classic movie is. And that's kind of the very broad idea for the episode. I do get more specific later on. I have some ideas about what to talk about, but I don't want to spoil it. I think, we'll talk about cult classics as well. The idea that viewers are supposed to respond to a classic in a certain way, the kind of pressure that we feel as viewers to respond to, say, Casablanca in a certain way when we see it for the first time, and what happens when we don't experience that, and how do we react to that internally towards ourselves and also towards the movie. But yeah, that's kind of a general idea. And if you want to also, you two want to spin that off into different directions, I am happy to do that too. I think this will be a very open episode in terms of where it goes as well.
I have a couple, I think I have a couple of sort of sidesteppy, or really kind of, this is much in my brain sort of got slammed back to the college discussion post mode for a second here, and it was Helena has this idea and it has made me wish to ask her these questions to provoke further discussion.
Ooh.
Because I don't know, I just had an episode and went back to being 21 and in film class, I guess.
We've all been there.
And then I blacked out and started thinking about Lawrence of Arabia again.
Oh, mood, yeah.
I just want to watch Lawrence of Arabia. I should do that at my parents' house because they have this massive television. I think my parents will be like, oh my god, no, I'm not sitting through 4 fucking hours of Lawrence of Arabia.
I have seen
Cowards.
The first disc of Lawrence of Arabia, and I wanted to watch it was my intention to watch the second disc. I had it all set up, and then I can't remember what happened that day. It was many years ago. Dad came home, and we were doing stuff. I think we were baking or something. And then we did not have enough time to watch the second disc to Lawrence of Arabia, because that movie is a million years long. I do really enjoy it. It's a very beautiful movie to look at.
I will say, as someone who genuinely loves the shit out of Lawrence of Arabia, the first disc is probably better than the second disc. It's not like it gets bad or something, but I would say that the bulk of my favorite parts,
right, the good shit with him in
the first half. Also, mostly because the good shit with him,
and Omar Sharif,
Omar Sharif, staring at each other.
Fuck it.
That.
Well, yeah.
I mean...
The pause.
Remember in the movie Prometheus, the Alien prequel, for those if you haven't seen Prometheus, pretend like you have.
This is the only thing I know about that fucking movie.
This is me pretending I've seen Prometheus.
I quite enjoy Prometheus because my dad really likes Prometheus, and he owns it on Blu-ray, and I've seen it a lot of times. So it's one of those things that like I kind of enjoy.
You've just seen it so much that you have to.
You got like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, it's not a terrible movie. It's enjoyable, but Michael Fassbender's android character models himself after Lawrence of Arabia and like watches the scene, like opening scenes of it. Like it's like a montage of him like being on the ship alone for a very long time because he's an android, and watching scenes of Lawrence of Arabia and like combing his hair a certain way and modeling his accent off of Peter O'Toole's accent in Lawrence of Arabia. And then they had the audacity to say that the Alien franchise never had any gay characters, and I didn't know what to do with that information. Like, did people watch that movie? What did they think that whole opening sequence was supposed to mean? I mean, it meant multiple things. This is, of course, besides just, like, the existence of Ripley, but...
Yeah, literally one of the greatest quotes about Lawrence of Arabia is just that from a review that I can't remember who wrote it, saying that Peter O'Toole in this movie is so pretty they ought to have called the film Florence of Arabia.
Yeah, that was Noel Coward, yeah.
God. What a way with words, that man.
His greatest contribution to the English language, that quote. Anyway,
so one of these days we're gonna do a Peter O'Toole episode because I had a fucking phase.
Oh god, okay. Right.
Anyway. I mean, some of which would fall under the, like, let's talk about classic films, and some of which would fall under the category of just like, wow, alright then.
I just had an idea that you've inspired me for my birthday episode, which will be sometime around December 17th, that's related to Peter O'Toole, so... Perfect.
Fantastic. I can't wait to find out what it is.
Boop, boop. It'll be great. Anyway, so that's our topic. What have you seen?
So that's great. That's what have we seen? So I
all over the map this one.
All right. I watched what else is new? I rewatched Van Helsing 2004 cinematic classic. I saw Friday the 13th for the first time, the first one, and I walked into it thinking I knew what it was about, and then I had this great joke set up for my Letterboxd review, like 2/3 of the way through, and then it turns out I didn't actually know what it was about, and now I understand the series less, so excited to watch the second one eventually. I finally saw Scream, which I saw the last 10 minutes of years ago.
Oh, unfortunately.
So I was excited to see the first hour and 30 minutes of that movie. Excited to watch the second one of those. I saw Hocus Pocus for the first time because my roommate was streaming it for her choir, and that was really fun. And I rewatched the first Halloween because I wanted to. And then I spent the rest of the night thinking to myself, it's all right, Michael Myers wouldn't come after me because I'm not a teen. It's fine. I'm not a teen. Mm-hmm. And then double checked my doors. What a good movie that is.
Yeah.
So I didn't see a whole lot. Mostly horror movies.
I feel like that is interesting to realize that we have reached an age where, like, if part of the plot is that it's like, it goes after, like, horny teenagers, I can be like, oh, I'm too old for this.
We've aged out of being killed by Michael Myers. Yeah. Now, the downside is in Friday the 13th, the first one, there are adult murders. Adults do get murdered, so we would not be safe from the killer in Friday the 13th.
They're dumb enough to go to a summer camp area where there is a legend about a dead teen.
Right.
I would never be that stupid.
We are not camp counselors. I would be the most at risk from Friday the 13th killers.
Yeah. Because of your camp counselor experience.
Because... Yes, but I am not currently counseling a camp, so I'd be fine, I think.
Now, I did some leadership stuff in Girl Scout camp. Would that put me at a risk? I mean... I
think you have to be at a camp.
Okay.
Now, to be fair, I have not seen any of the Friday the 13th movies, and based on what the first one did to me, I don't think I know shit about the laws of Friday the 13th. But I think it has to be at that one lake. So, as long as we don't go there.
At Oxbow, we all had to have, like, fake names as camp counselors. Yeah. And I...
Same thing at outdoor school.
The 1 year that I did it, my name was Mountain Dew, so I think I deserve to be killed by Jason, quite honestly.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I didn't pick a nature name.
No. Yeah, Jason would go for you first, I think, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I saw. I think I would be at risk to be killed by the Scream Killer. Because that's not age-specific. They just are, like, into murder.
Yeah.
So...
And
that's a problem.
They subvert expectations about who's going to be killed, so.
Right. But I think I could outmaneuver them just, like, brain-wise. It took me too long to figure out a word I wanted to say there, so maybe not, actually.
I think I would get out of it because, spoilers for Scream, my aunt's friend's nephew is Matthew Lillard. So I could use that connection. Matthew Lillard is in Scream. I could use that connection to get me out of that one.
He was great.
Yeah. I'd be like, hey, we never met, but you're so-and-so's nephew.
So
it's my aunt, so maybe we should...
So don't kill me.
So don't kill me.
Yeah.
That might get around to them.
I would have been able to accurately answer the question at the beginning of the movie that got her killed. Or that she got in trouble for, so...
What's the question? I've never seen Scream, and I've never...
It's okay. They ask questions about, like, horror movies, basically. And so he asks, who's the killer of Friday the 13th? And I had just seen Friday the 13th, so I would have been able to accurately answer that question. And then the next question is, what door am I at? And I think I would have also been able to accurately answer that question. So...
Well...
I feel like I would panic and start quoting the relevant sequence in Monty Python, at which point the killer would leave in disgust.
That would
would be fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Helena and or Z.
I can go because it's really short, and the answer is what I've written on this document says, literally nothing, question mark, question mark, question mark, what's a movie?
Yeah.
We just
because
don't
I've
know.
spent all of my free time sleeping and playing tabletop role-playing games.
And you're valid.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I've been playing a lot of Pokemon. I get it.
I don't know, so it's just like, I don't know, like Great British Bake Off. I've been I've been asleep a lot. I'm gonna be real here.
Yeah.
That's been my primary recreational activity.
It's a very big mood because our new routine here at our household is, the evening news ends at 5:30, and once that happens, and my parents go to the kitchen to make dinner, and I, a lazy child, stay in the living room and put on the Great British Bake Off reruns on Netflix. And so we listen to and watch Great British Bake Off while we're making dinner and while we're eating, and also after. So
it's a good dinner time watching thing. My roommate likes to put it on to convince me to bake stuff, and it works. It works a lot of the time. Never forget the time she put on she was like, I want bread, and she looked at me and she put on a bread episode of Great British Bake Off, and I was like, fuck you. I rolled over to take a nap on the couch, and then 5 minutes later I was up making bread because I was like, fuck, I want to make bread. So that's usually how it goes in this house.
I do so appreciate that you've been just like, Amanda has just trained you. Like,
think of Pavlovian response in making bread.
I have not seen the bread episode of this most recent season. I'm specifically avoiding it because I'm like, I know I'm gonna fucking make focaccia. And I want to wait until I have all the stuff for this focaccia I want to make. I'm pre-planning.
I focaccia now, shit. Also,
I will find the recipe.
I would like to note for the record that Helena on the Google Doc for me is a goose icon, so this is now secondarily Untitled Goose This is now Anonymous Goose Podcast.
Goose Podcast.
Yeah, that's about right.
It's literally this whole thing has been typed by Anonymous Goose. Anyway.
Is it my turn? I guess
yeah,
there is.
Please, you've watched movies for the two of us, I've decided. Go for it.
Yeah, because Elmo, our fourth Sneople, is not here at the moment. And he's a busy man. He's a working man. He doesn't have any time for that kind of thing. Yeah, so in order, I rewatched Knives Out because I got that at a sidewalk sale for Movie Madness a few weeks ago. So I watched that in the afternoon in my cozy little chair with coffee. It was very nice. I rewatched Hocus Pocus as well after a long time. And it was funny because we were kind of talking about that on the previous episode, how, you know, I don't have any particular nostalgia surrounding Hocus Pocus, and I was always kind of, you know, on it. But I did watch it, and I did have a good time. It does kind of slap. I watched Kronos on the Criterion Channel, which is Guillermo del Toro's first movie. It's kind of a vampire movie-ish.
Yeah, it looked weird. I was like, I wanted to see it. I read the description, and I was like, oh!
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Ron Perlman is in it.
Ron Perlman's there. He's looking fresh as hell. I rewatched Poltergeist on Netflix because we just didn't want to have a lot of brain activity on one particular evening, so we rewatched something that we'd all seen. God, I feel the same way about that movie, which is just like, yeah, it's fine. I hate that fucking clown. Have either of you seen Poltergeist?
No.
And I think I'm realizing I don't know as much about Poltergeist as I thought I did.
There is...
The second you said clown, I was like,
Well, it's a small scene, but I know that it's fucked up a lot of kids' childhood. There's a clown doll that the young boy has that, like, has a creepy ass face and, like, long kind of, like, spindly arms. And the boy, in a couple of scenes, gets freaked out by the clown and, like, before he's going to bed, and throws his, like, coat over it because he doesn't want to fucking look at it because it's awful. Who buys that for their child? And then later on, the second time it happens, when they think they've gotten rid of the poltergeists, he wakes up and the clown is just fucking gone, and the coat is, like, on the ground, and he, like a fool, gets out of bed, and the clown's spindly little, like, accordion arms shoot out from under the bed and grab his ankles and pull him under. And then you see, like, later the clown is, like, strangling him with a look of malice on his face. It is the fucking worst. It is the most disturbing thing I've ever seen. I hate anything having to do with ventriloquist dummies and dolls and evil clown dolls. I hate that shit. It's like my personal nemesis. I can't do it. I can't fucking do it. So I think Poltergeist is partially responsible for that particular, I wouldn't call it a trigger, but it's definitely something where, like, you gotta warn me if that ventriloquist dummy is going to move, please. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah. As a longtime hater of the Chucky series, I understand.
Thank you.
I am fucking absolutely categorically never in a million years watching that goddamn movie. That sounds awful.
Well, now
that sounds horrendous.
Yes, now you know. There are other scenes which, like, should be considered more horrific, but I just don't find as scary as that one particular scene. I think this all stems from early exposure to Goosebumps, actually. Night of the Living Dummy, etc.
One of the like most like upsetting, like, quote unquote, it was not even a fucking horror movie, it was a fucking Disney Channel original movie, was the one where, like, if you stopped believing your imaginary friends, they would, like, turn into something weird and, like, come back to try to eat you.
What? I don't remember this.
Oh yeah, dude, it was.
This
called,
sounds like a
I think
nightmare.
it's called Don't Look Under the Bed.
I have heard of that. I didn't realize that was what it was about.
I don't like that.
I don't like that.
No, it's like deeply fucked up and, like, gave me a weird guilt complex about, like, not continuing
just like Toy Story.
It was very weird. Anyway, and there was some weird thing about, like, I remember it being, like, the taste of, like, nutmeg being, like, some sort of herald of this. I don't know. It's possible that I'm misremembering this, but also just,
I have to
like,
look this
I remember
up.
fucking hating that shit.
Wow.
So anyway, I don't know. It's almost Halloween, and that's why we're talking about fucking Halloween movies.
Brief tangent, there's the ventriloquist thing. I don't know if I've talked about this before. There's an episode of the original Scooby-Doo series that is entirely set almost within a puppet workshop. And there's
I'm out.
Yep, an old man who is a puppeteer, and he has this little puppet that he sits on his little ventriloquist dummy. He sits on his lap, and like later the gang comes back, and they're like he's like asleep in the chair or something, and you see the dummy open his eyes and like watch them leave, and then later they come back to the old man sitting in the chair, and they shake him, and his like head comes off because he was a puppet.
Fuck?
It's
what
like
the fuck? No, thank you.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, Scooby-Doo is hardly ever scary, and that still wouldn't qualify as scary, but it was still incredibly disturbing to me, that episode.
No, those are some fucked vibes, and I want nothing to do with it.
I just watched horror movies. I watched A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, which is, I believe, an Iranian vampire movie. Which was
I love that movie.
It's very, very fun. Very moody and beautiful to look at. I had a bad tummy vibes when I was watching it, so unfortunately that affected my enjoyment a little bit. But the movie itself was very good. I rewatched Shaun of the Dead because it's Halloween.
Yes.
I watched Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which is more of a psychological horror movie from the 60s with a classic with Joan Crawford and Bette Davis. Playing sisters who do not have a healthy relationship where you talk about your problems and resolve them. Let's just say that. That was very fun, very, very campy movie. I rewatched the original Fright Night. And I watched The Wicker Man 2 nights ago. The original Wicker Man. Which was so not what I was expecting in some ways, and very enjoyable. It was a lot more music than I was expecting. Just like constant like scenes of the townspeople bursting into folk music. And Christopher Lee has this insane hair in it. It's just it was really enjoyable. I really liked it. It was less scary and more just kind of like slightly bizarre and weird until like the very last scene, and then it's just kind of like oh god oh my god. So that's also on the Criterion Channel, as is Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. I highly recommend both of them.
I've never seen the original Wicker Man, but my whole take on it is that Christopher Lee is like fairly hot in that movie. Like,
yeah,
I've seen
a little
pictures.
bit.
Like, I gotta look him up real quick.
Actually,
Hold on.
like kind of attractive.
There's a famous picture of him like standing in front of the Wicker Man, like a screen cap, where his hair is just like being blown in the wind in all different directions, and it's kind of a little bit insane.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. He is kind of hot.
He's kind of hot in it. Yeah, unfortunately.
I don't hate it. I love that jacket he's wearing.
Generally, he has this kind of like genteel hair or whatever. Like, this is what he looks like in some of the more normal scenes. I'm putting this in the Discord. And then something happens. This is the end, and it's just like, oh yeah, well then he's got this outfit because he's like a laird. You know, because they're an island in Scotland. Yeah. Enjoyable.
Just good eyebrows on that man.
Very, very good eyebrows.
Really just some eyebrows for the ages on Mr. Christopher Lee.
We do love brows, for sure.
We be out here loving brows.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of eyebrows.
Speaking of eyebrows?
Yeah, Ingrid
Classic
Bergman's
movies.
Eyebrows, yeah, classic movies. There we go. Where do we want to begin?
That's a good question. I think at the beginning of this doc, you kind of had like a as defined by filmsite.org definition. I think like defining our terms. You ever take a high school class where they teach you how to debate, and one of the first things they teach you is defining your terms before you start an argument, and then that never leaves your head? Anyway, so I think that we should define our terms before we get into this discussion.
Yes. So the definition I pulled from filmsite.org, which was like literally the first result and also the best one that I found within the first, few results, were classic films are often distinguished or unique works of cinema that have transcended time and trends with indefinable quality. Classic films are often universal favorites that hold up after repeated rescreenings. Classics are renowned films of first rank, reference points in film mythology, or films that have become a part of cultural folklore. So a lot of different definitions there, but I think that kind of covers the basics.
Yeah.
And I agree with that definition.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say like a classic film, quote unquote, can be a lot of things and cover a lot of genres. And this is not getting into cult classic, which I think we'll touch on, or like genre classics, which I would like to be an entirely different episode. Because you could really go apeshit there.
Sure.
But rather like, when I think of a classic movie, the first ones I think of usually are Casablanca, what's that one movie I always bitch about?
Citizen Kane.
Thank you, Citizen Kane. Thank you, God. Stuff like that. Like, that is usually my first point of reference. Some Like It Hot for some reason I always think of, but I think that may just be I don't know how...
That's very much
for sure.
If it appears on the American Film Institute list a lot, then it's considered a classic movie.
Okay, great. Yeah. Stuff like that. A lot of it is in black and white. I think that we tend to think of classics as older movies, and I don't think that's necessarily like fair or true. But that is just kind of what happens, I think the longer something is in like the cultural awareness, the easier it is for it to become a classic.
Yeah.
If it lasts that long, it probably deserves the status in some way or another.
I think there's also an element where like it's hard to see the impact that a film has on like the film as an art form or as a medium without the lens of time.
Yeah. That's why we have, as we talked about down here, like the idea of an instant classic is such a strange term. And usually you don't really hear that except when people are doing TV spots and pulling lines from positive reviews from movies, if I agree with that, like a certain element of a classic film that defines it as some kind of timelessness, whatever that is. And if something is an instant classic, well, what does that mean? How can we test that? Not its impact on films, but also how well it's going to hold up 10, 15, 20 years from now. Because I think that some movies have been regarded as instant classics in their time, and then they just haven't held up in that way. It's certainly, like, your mileage may vary. Like, I don't particularly care for Forrest Gump, for instance, which is a relatively, comparatively recent movie. A lot of people still really like Forrest Gump. I get it. Like, I cried during it. It's a very emotionally manipulative film. But, I just don't think that certain elements of it have held up, or indeed held up even when it was made. So it's hard to say, I don't know, like The Lion King as an example of something that's like been a big part of my life. I don't know if that qualifies as a classic movie or just like a really popular movie that's a big part of the cultural, consciousness. I don't know.
I think a lot of people would not consider animated movies to be classic because I think there's some era of like, if it's a genre movie of some kind, then it ends up being like a comedy classic or a sci-fi classic or it's kind of like how
attached to it.
Yeah, it's like how the Oscars people pick stuff to vote for. They like dramas. You don't ever hear a dramatic classic.
No,
because those are considered kind of like the touch point for what is a film.
Yeah.
Which I think is annoying.
Comedies,
I agree. Some
comedies certainly make it in there without that caveat, but a lot of horror
Not
movies,
many.
A lot of sci-fi movies, certainly.
Animated movies also.
Yeah.
Speaking of, because Lion King I would say is a classic for sure. Talk about something that has, it's been like 20 years.
Yeah.
That's true. It is, still like very prevalent. and maybe part of that is because Disney doesn't want to let its copyright go.
Understandable.
But I think especially if you ask a lot of people like our age, I think that is something that they would put label to it.
Yeah.
I guess that is also part of it is who are you asking? Because some movies would have become, we think of it as like a classic, but like my parents probably wouldn't because they, I don't know. I don't want to say because they think of it as a movie for kids, but because it came out when they were like adults.
Yeah. Well, certainly if you're looking at, again, the American Film Institute, which was kind of my first exposure to a lot of like American, at least, ideas of classic movies. Like they always had TV specials when they would talk about the 100 greatest movies, and they would do a countdown and everything. And they had that for 100 years, 100 laughs, 100 years, 100 thrills.
So much time getting mad about those.
I know.
as like an adolescent, like proto film nerd.
I look at those lists now, and I just, it's kind of embarrassing, actually. I think, but yeah, I'm not gonna get into that.
No, I remember there was this book we used to sell when I worked at the bookstore that was like 1,000 movies you need to see before you die or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always so fucking mad that stuff like The Fall wasn't on there.
Yeah.
Which is like, to be fair, that is like a relatively niche film. But there were other things on there that I was like, hey, this is like a fairly well-known movie. Why is this not on this list? Like,
and they update those books like every year too.
Yeah.
And so there's sometimes I go back through different editions of that at work, and like see, oh, in this one that came out like 5 years ago, they included Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. But in the most recent edition, they did not include Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. They did, in fact, include the new remake of A Star is Born, which I don't think is very fair. I think you should cut that out of there.
And catch me never watching that movie because
I know.
I
saw the last
by the way, it ends with this, and I was like,
I saw the last 15
I'm not watching that.
minutes of it. Walked in on my roommate's partner at the time who was living with us, watching the last 15 minutes of it. So I saw that, but I was like, yeah, I don't want to watch that movie. And also I sometimes I have to hear that one song, and I'm like, I don't like this song very much. Maybe I'm just a bitch. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's like the opening to Inherit the Wind, which just it starts with this long take of this guy walking through the town while this woman with a extremely strong vibrato sings "Give Me That Old Time Religion" all the way through. And it just makes me want to die. The rest of the movie is very, very well made. That particular sequence.
You just want to fast forward 5 minutes of Inherit the Wind. Man,
you have to pay the 5-minute toll to get to watch the rest of the movie.
And then anytime that song shows up in the movie, I'm just like, ah!
There's so many sort of artistic... I think one of the things about classic movies is that there are movies where you can enjoy them even if you might have issues with the sort of distance between the artistic sensibilities of the time at which you are watching it and the artistic sensibilities of the time at which it was made. And there are films where you sort of can't get past that barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And so in terms of films that quote unquote like stand the test of time, it's like, do I still find this engaging and compelling despite different, changes in the style of screen acting or things like you don't get solo performances with that much vibrato all the time anymore. That sounds jarring in a way that it would not have at the time. And it's like, are you willing to put up with it?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for me, there are films that's sort of part of one of the things that I would say is like a defining factor of that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little spacey tonight. Also, I was trying to not talk while the train was going by.
Oh, you're okay. I think that series of thoughts absolutely made sense, if that helps.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that tracked for me. Yeah, I'm thinking about when we went to go see, I guess that was not either of you that went with me to go see It's a Wonderful Life in theaters. I think it was Ben and Leia and I. I just transplant Helena also being there because I complained about it to her a lot.
I also just, like, I associate Helena so strongly with, like, anytime It's a Wonderful Life comes up, like, Helena's just, like, in the back of my head.
Yeah. That's the other thing is I just assumed you would have gone with us, but you did not. I think because you saw it another night, maybe, or something else.
I didn't go to see it in theaters, though I would have liked to, but my parents own it on DVD, so.
Yeah. But we went to go see it, and, like, I remember, like, because there are parts of that movie that just are, like, of its time. Mm-hmm. Not like in a racist way, like in a film acting way.
Although some little tiny bits of it in a racist way.
Yes. But specifically the moments I'm thinking of were like film acting ways where people were like laughing at very dramatic moments. And I know I bitched about this because I just got so mad. Like I was like, this was the style of acting, and this is not an intentionally funny moment. And I know you're like, haha, isn't this goofy? But I'm like, also, he's like going through a breakdown right now.
Yeah.
This isn't funny.
I don't know if I would have enjoyed that because I think we dealt with part of the reason why you're transposing me into that experience as well is that I think we kind of had a similar experience, although perhaps mine was stronger when we went to go see Maurice together at the same theater. And that was more of a, I think that was less of a time thing, although that was certainly an element because Maurice is 88, 87, I think, so at least
something like that.
30 years old. But it was more about just how British and stuffy everybody was and how kind of roundabout and euphemistic it had to be in some ways. That people were laughing at it and things that were just not funny at all to me. I find that movie to be, especially like the last couple of scenes, I find to be very, very painful and like very emotional. And that was extremely frustrating. It just kind of, I don't really know, this is kind of a dead end of a conversation, but it just kind of felt like people weren't, and we can get into this later because I've kind of talked about it below, people weren't allowing themselves to kind of be with the movie and not bringing their own baggage into the film. Like there's a moment where like in Maurice in particular where Clive has like Hugh Grant's character has confessed that he's in love with Maurice, and Maurice is like, I don't know what you're talking about, I'm a very straight heterosexual man, I like to play the football and all that kind of thing. And then later on, a few scenes later, he like sneaks into Clive's room at night and kisses him and leaves, and it's kind of like this like surprising, confession or whatever. And at that moment, this person sitting behind us was like, what? Like he had like it was a confusing, but like in a way that was meant to be like to elicit a humorous response.
A laugh. Mm-hmm.
Like it was an inexplicable thing that he did on his part, and I'm like, it's not confusing what he did. Like he's just in denial.
Yeah. And
he was saying that like I don't actually feel that way. It's not confusing. It's not very funny. There are moments in that film that could work for a humorous response, but like that's not
that wasn't it.
one of them. So it's just very interesting.
Yeah, that I will say the other part about more because like It's a Wonderful Life is like it's an older movie. It's a black and white. It's like a Christmas classic. Like I was annoyed because I always cry at that movie, but I was more forgiving. Maurice was like a small theater and it was specifically billed as a queer movie night, and I know most people in that theater were queers, so that sucked on a different level because I felt like I was being laughed at by my community in a way, though that was not the intention. But I was still like, guys, like. I'm sorry, you don't know what this feels like? Okay. I don't know what to tell you.
I feel that a lot, actually. I love the Hollywood theater to death. I feel like that, I have felt like that a lot, specifically at screenings at the Hollywood theater, which is more a comment on some people who are other patrons of the theater than the theater itself.
Because the theater itself rules.
The theater itself rules, has great programming. I have felt particularly when they bring back when they're doing a reshowing of any movie, no matter how old it is, I feel like there's a certain sense of performative behavior that goes on amongst people who go there, and they don't go alone, they like go with their friends to kind of heckle or mock or make fun of things. And it's just like, not everybody and I don't want to prioritize my experience over anyone else's, but like, I go to a lot of these movies by myself, so I'm going there to kind of have an experience with everybody else who's there, and also just like with myself in the screen. And that kind of response, which is kind of like, feels to me like a bad faith viewing of taking any particular moment and looking at it for its worst qualities only, and not letting that moment just kind of be what it is, really takes you out of it, and really kind of makes it, I think, all about yourself and what you're trying to do for the people immediately around you. And it kind of sucks if you're not also in that situation. You know, it's kind of like when you're watching movies at home, I think it's a very different situation, and you can do and say what you want. And obviously you can still do and say what you want when you're in a movie theater. And no one's gonna, I don't think anybody should be scolded for laughing or reacting loudly or you know, but there's just a certain vibe that you get sometimes where it feels like, are you watching this movie to watch this movie, or are you watching this movie to make fun of it? Because I think that sucks. You know, they do like the Hollywood Theater does host like B-movie nights where they specifically say, come to this, it's called Heckle Vision, you can like sign up for this chat thing and text your heckles and it'll show up on the screen. You know, like there are certain movies where, when I went to go see Color Out of Space, which is that recent movie with Nicolas Cage in it, like the entire theater was there to take that movie as it was, and I felt like that was very much how it was intended to be taken. So there's a barometer of that experience. But anyway, I'm getting way off topic, but I had to get that out of me, I guess.
You're okay. I think that is something that like comes into viewings of classic movies. And you mentioned this briefly, is that like I think that when you go, I had like 3 thoughts there, and I wanted to say all of them. One, I don't think I've ever been to a movie by myself, because I have massive social anxiety, and I hate going to public places by myself.
Right.
Where there will be other people there. Because I need an extra person to be a buffer for me. But, additionally, like anytime I go to a movie with somebody, like I feel like it is a friend that I trust. You know, if I get unexpectedly teary-eyed during a movie and I cry, I'm not gonna go with somebody I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that with.
Right.
I go to movies and I cry at trailers, and whoever I go with has to accept that is just who I am. And so I can't imagine going to a movie with people who you do not feel comfortable experiencing a piece of media with and being vulnerable about that piece of media with, which I think sometimes is what happens, is people go to movies with friends. And that, to be fair, I'm not saying like don't go to movies with large groups of your friends. Like that's stupid. I wouldn't say that. But also I do go to groups, like movies with large groups of friends. And I specifically make sure I sit near people where if I cry, they're not going to judge me for it.
Right.
You know, and I think that is sometimes the instinct when people go see like classic movies or movies that are a little bit older, things like that. They feel like they can't like let themselves get into it because they're afraid of like looking goofy for getting into something that's old, you know? And therefore they gotta goof on it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, man, it's okay to be like vulnerable with your friends.
Yeah.
That's all right, dude.
It's okay to like care about stuff.
Do you need to talk about it? Yeah. Bro, it's okay to care about stuff like in public.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like you trust.
A very high school response, isn't it? Where, you know, I often got whenever I got made fun of, I didn't get bullied in high school, but if I got made fun of, which is a different thing, it was for caring too much about theater and showing that in a physical way.
Which is like
high school is all about like, I don't give a shit about anything, and if you care about things, you're weird and stupid, and you'll never get invited to parties. And it's like, well, that's the lot I've chosen in life, I guess. But guess what? high school fucking sucks, and we're not in it anymore, and you don't have to pretend like you're in it. You can be in the world now and, like, love life, actually.
You can, like, purposely surround yourself with people who are enthusiastic and care about you caring about stuff, and I think that is rad and cool, actually.
Mm-hmm. Men, it's like, we did it. We made it through. We survived high school. We can act like it.
Yeah, for real. Also, it's so funny that we didn't get invited to the high school parties, because the high school parties we would have been invited to were the theater parties?
Yeah.
Where people presumably would have cared about theater, and yet, there we were. And, you know, whatever. We watched movies in your basement instead.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it whipped, and I had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no drinking, which, I don't know, maybe I would have liked to do some of that earlier.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of that later, so we're fine. It balanced out.
I was legally allowed to in college, so I think it's a different take for me.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't. Anyway. But I think to that point of, like, being afraid to be, like, vulnerable, I think that is combined with, like, you mentioned there's, like, a cultural pressure for something considered a classic, which, like, you both for the movie and the viewer, you feel like, oh, this is the classic, like, I gotta like it or something.
Well,
you know?
It may not even be such a conscious thing too. Sometimes it's just kind of like a subconscious. I talked about this a little bit when I was talking about that movie Certified Copy several episodes back, where I had a college professor who taught theater and film who we used to have chats about movies sometimes, and he used to talk about the idea of, like, getting rid of which I'm sure he got from something which I can't remember, that of letting go of your expectations of a movie or a play before you go in and watch it, which is a very difficult thing to do because we are constantly absorbing information and reactions all the time from people. And even if it's something like a plot summary or a trailer or, like, a single review on Letterboxd, or, you know, your parents talking about a movie or your friends talking about, like, there's all these different avenues where information or biases about a film come at you, and it's very, very difficult to let go of those things and just take a movie as it is. And even if that's not a conscious pressure, I certainly feel that a lot of the times where, like, I think I felt that when I was about to see, like, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which is both a classic and kind of a cult classic, I think, which I enjoyed. I didn't, I'm not crazy about it, but I liked it. Where it was like, I'm watching this on my laptop in my living room while my parents are watching something else on the TV, and that's kind of distracting me. Whoops, I'm on my phone, gotta put that down. Am I responding to this movie correctly? Am I having the quote-unquote right response to this movie, which is the worst possible thing to think when you're trying to enjoy something? You know, I think that I talk about Casablanca a little bit here because you mentioned that earlier. And I think the first time I saw that on Turner Classic Movies, and I think I was a teenager or a preteen, and I didn't hate it, but I wasn't, like, crazy about it. And then I saw it a few times after that. At some point, I just saw it multiple times. I did have a roommate and a friend in college who loved Casablanca, and so we did watch that a couple times together. And now I just love that movie. And there's so much that, like, our age and the mood that we're in at the time, like I talked about with A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, the environment that we're in, all of that can affect your viewing experience and can impact it negatively or positively, not to mention all of the mental stuff that you're bringing to it, consciously and unconsciously. You know, I have found that you know, I have a situation where I'm on my laptop, which I usually have in the living room, and it's nice to not have to move anywhere and just watch movies on the couch. But the thing is, if I'm plugged in, my parents are usually, as of right now, watching something else on the TV. And I found that that's a very distracting environment. And there are a couple of times when I've gone downstairs in the past month to watch something alone in the basement, and it's a horror movie, so sometimes that's not such a great idea, but I found that I'm able to focus on it a little bit more, and my environment is improved and my enjoyment is improved. It's like the closest I can get to watching something in theaters right now, which is kind of, I guess, part of it. But all of that definitely has an impact on how you respond to something. Yeah.
I watched The Godfather Parts 1 and 2 for the first time recently with my dad, who loves these movies. But specifically, I, offered to get them on DVD out of the library, and I should have just done it because my dad was like, no, they showed them uncut on TCM, and, I just, recorded them on the DVR or whatever over Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this is fine, but we had to fast forward through the commercials.
Ugh.
So, it's like a testament to the strength of the storytelling in those movies that having to stop and fast forward through the commercials didn't, take me out of the moment too much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that was just wacky. Or then, we started them too late, and my dad was like, yeah, I forgot how fucking late long this movie is. And my mom was finally just like, I'm going to bed, you guys can stay up and be idiots if you want. And that's how me and my dad ended up watching The Godfather Part 2 until almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah, it is. Father-offspring bonding experiences, we love it, but I don't know, I'm just thinking about that's a movie where I'm almost glad that I waited to see it, because in terms of baggage brought, I feel like I went through a couple of phases in terms of how I approached, these lauded films of history or whatever, where it was at first I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just watch anything. I don't really have I'm formulating my sense of taste. I don't have a lot of kind of preconceived notions of what makes a good movie. And then I was like, I'm anything that has too much hype by white men is just an auto fail. No, seriously, which I have held on to a little bit of that, where I side-eye things that have too much hype by white men. But there was a chunk of time where I was like, no, I'm just gotta be contrary about this.
No, that's
I automatically
legit.
just... And you know what? That's fine, but I've sort of aged out of that kind of reflexive fuck you attitude.
Yeah.
And now I have this nice thing where I don't feel pressure to like things like that as someone who has a movie podcast and therefore some people might say claims to have the right to have opinions on movies, which fuck that. Everybody has the right to have opinions on art.
Yes.
I just like to record it and stick it out on with my best friends and throw it out on the internet, and y'all are choosing to listen to it. So one, thank you, and two, if you don't like it, you could stop listening. It's one of those things where it's who creates the concept of having authority? It's not me.
Yeah.
Oops, Mike Fucko just came out of the college woodwork of my brain, and now I have to go beat him back into
Anyway. None of us are the American Film Institute of podcasters.
No. Nope. Nor will we probably want to, unless they pay me to do something other than make birthday cakes for a living, at which point I'll take anything.
That would
Sorry,
be
what I was trying to say before my own goofs got away from me is that I feel like I've settled into this thing where I am open to the concept of liking these movies on their own merits or not, but I just don't feel the need to engage either obeying or reflexively disobeying the idea of what I should think about them.
Right.
And that's the direction that I'm trying to take my engagement with, capital F films.
Well, I think either way...
And The Godfather whips.
The Godfather does
The
whip.
Godfather whips! I mean, there are things, and like there you go. There are things about those movies that are very dated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of the gender politics are pretty teeth-grittingly awful. But the bones of it are so strong, I guess.
The performances, I mean, the way that it's done, so the performances and the music and the cinematography and all that make it feel fresh. I think that's part of like why I was so struck by Rebel Without a Cause. Like, I definitely, I think part of the reason why I enjoyed Rebel Without a Cause so much is that I imprinted pretty hard on it almost immediately, and that's certainly a movie that has a history of a lot of gay subtext, and an important place in like queer film history. But within like the first 10 minutes of that movie, there was like a conversation that James Dean's character was having with somebody and talking about what his problems are as he sees it, basically. And it was it just resonated so much at that particular moment in time, especially lately, that I was like getting choked up within the first 15 minutes of this movie that was made in the 1950s about this teenage guy, ostensibly a teenager, not actually a teenager. And that, like, that's really incredible that movies can still do that, I think. And The Godfather is the same way, where like I don't necessarily relate to the characters in any particular way. And obviously there's a massive difference of time in terms of when it was made. And the 70s were a very different time in terms of the acting style that was currently going on than the 50s. But there's so many elements of The Godfather that still feel like so surprising to me whenever I watch it. And like the opening scene in the first movie, that's just like one huge long wedding scene. I am blown away by it every single time, because you learn absolutely everything that you need to know about every single character in that one long scene, not by overly foreshadowing anything, but by laying down the bones of who they are, what they're like, and like what their relationships are. That if you've seen the movie before, you know, if you can see like, oh my God, of course the story turns out this way. And that's just really good storytelling. So The Godfather whips.
No, a well put together film is a in anything, a well put together story is a well put together story. That in particular, I think, is a quality that can transcend a lot of other. That's why I'll say like the bones of a movie are really there, where it's like if something is sort of structurally sound, you can sort of you can see past certain things, I guess.
I would add to this little bit here about like, you know, seeing a movie multiple times and connecting that back to all of the baggage that your beautiful, lovely brains bring to any situation. All of our brains are beautiful and amazing. You should love your brain; they're amazing. But you know, sometimes
you're gonna get.
It's the only one you're gonna get. But sometimes they do just pull a number on you, huh? And the fact that like you're having to absorb all of the information, visual information, auditory information from, you know, the production design, the acting, the direction of the camera, costumes, music, all of these different elements that go into making a movie what it is. And your brain is absorbing that for the first time, and also trying to handle any kind of preconceived expectations that you have and anything that's going on in your general environment. It's understandable that you're not going to catch or experience everything the first time around. And so when we say that, like, oh, this movie kind of benefits from seeing it multiple times, sometimes that's just true, and it has nothing to do necessarily with it being, like, deep or anything. As I think I've mentioned here, like, Casablanca is a good example of, like, I don't think that the plot of Casablanca, although it includes a lot of a larger cast of characters and is very involved in that way. I don't think that the plot itself is very complex. I think it's pretty straightforward when you like know what's going to happen. But it's the emotional core of it that benefits from multiple viewings. It's what the camera does and what the actors do, and the way you see the story being set up, and the jokes too. I think especially in Casablanca, that really benefit from seeing it again and again, and kind of like, oh, that time I noticed this, and that time I got this, and having the benefit of already having seen it, means that you can open up and see more than you did before.
Man, I saw Casablanca for the first time. I was in high school, and I just decided that I was like, I had a bunch of my friends over, and I was like, we're gonna do a Humphrey Bogart movie afternoon. And I made everybody hang out in my parents' living room while we watched Casablanca and the Maltese Falcon back to back.
Nice.
And like, I had the time of my goddamn life, and in retrospect, I feel like at least some of my friends were like, can we sneak out through through the French doors at the back of the living room? Oh my god, why is Ezra subjecting us to this?
That's the reaction that my friends had when I tried to play Peter Jackson's King Kong for them all the time.
Cowards.
One of those friends was me. So.
Yeah, I knew it.
I love you.
Listen. It's not.
That
it's
bitch
not a great
is long
movie.
as fuck.
It's not Casablanca, but Adrian Brody sure is hot in it. So
that
he
movie is long as fuck.
It's
but
so fucking long.
He's so hot in that movie.
Tangent. Did you know there's a director's cut of that fucking movie that is longer?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Helena. Guess what? I've won. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yes.
You know what? There's even more of
What?
bugs.
I was gonna say, is there more bugs?
Okay.
The bug scene is longer.
So that gives me no impetus to watch that
Don't
extended
bother.
cut. Is there more Adrian Brody in it? Is my
I don't
question
even
to
remember.
you.
I was just so traumatized by the extra bugs.
Well,
I mean, just take a bathroom break during the bug part and enjoy that, like, once you've seen that fucking giant leech eat a dude's head, you never need to see it again.
doesn't he eat Andy Serkis's head?
Oh, yeah, no, I think he does. Yeah,
Rip.
F in the chat, Frank.
F in the chat.
Yeah, no, after you've seen the fucking giant leech eat Andy Serkis's head, you never need to see it again. Saw that, like, third row of the movie theater, Christmas Day 2005.
Yeah. I can see it now in my mind's eye.
Me too, unfortunately. Yeah, so just take a bathroom break during the bug part and enjoy the extra Adrian Brody content.
An unfortunate testament to how many times I have seen Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Look,
anyway.
Adrian Brody's really hot, and I had a really big
hot
crush
in
on
it.
him back in the day.
He's
I'm
really
thinking
hot
about,
in
like, oh man, now I'm off on an Adrian Brody train. You know what's a movie that, like, I do think I saw, and it's one of those ones where I would have said, oh, okay, like, I think this movie is going to stand up for a long time, is The Pianist. Because it did something that I had, like, it just did some things that I had never seen a movie do before. I've talked about this before on this podcast. And so it was sort of like, it was defining of the storytelling capacity of film, like, for me as a emerging person with an emerging interest in film. But I feel like I saw it and I thought, yeah, like, this is a movie that I can't imagine people ever looking at this and feeling like it was somehow out of date.
Right. Obligatory.
Or that it would get less impactful. I'm sorry I brought it up. Yeah, no, forgot for a second who it was directed by. So obligatory, Roman Polanski is a fucking pedophile and a horrible person and should come back to the United States to be prosecuted for being a pedophile.
Mm-hmm. But then also this movie. And
this movie,
and
we're not we're not having that discussion right now. Oh boy.
Yeah. I know what you mean though. No. I know exactly what you mean.
It had such a strong impact on me as a viewer, watching it in my parents' basement at age 12.
Yeah. I feel that way about one of the movies that I've mentioned down here as well. Actually, I feel like I've talked way too much. Does anybody else want to talk a little bit as well? Because I feel like I've just been, not to bring back a friend of ours, but bogarting the episode.
Wait, okay, somebody else talk, because I gotta look up the origin, the etymology of what it, bogarting or bogarting, as in, hogging something.
Alright, well, if Helena can't talk and Ezra can't talk, that means I get to fly the plane.
That's what I was hoping.
That's why we have 3 people on this podcast. So he has to be holding the brain cell.
I want to hear from Matthew.
I also just want to hear from Matthew.
The thing is my thing with movies is I have seen a decent amount of movies in my time, but my things I've seen and things I've not seen is kind of a weird spread. So I saw Fight Club relatively early on, but I still haven't seen The Godfather. I saw Casablanca, I think, fairly early on. I took a class on Casablanca. But, I've never seen, I'm trying to think of another, classic black and white movie I've never seen The Maltese Falcon.
Yeah, neither have I.
So my spread is just kind of a mishmash of things. I will say, the issue with, bringing... I cannot help but bring stuff into movies, as I think that is all of our problems. That is a universal human problem. But I just think the recent example was when I saw Friday the 13th, and I was like, oh, I know what Friday the 13th is about. It's Jason kills a bunch of kids, That is not what the original movie is entirely about. And it's interesting to go into, I think especially Friday the 13th is like a slasher classic almost. It's like a horror cult classic. And to go into it from cultural osmosis standpoint, I think it applies to a lot of different quote unquote classic movies, and then being surprised by it. And sometimes that can be delightful. Friday the 13th, I was delighted by the fact that I was wrong. I was oh, this is actually interesting. I like this. And I want to rewatch that movie with kind of the twist in mind. Right. Which is a twist that when they made that movie, they could not have predicted. But now, as someone watching it 40 years in the future or whatever, it's so cool that that kind of twist they made has become so much bigger than what was originally intended because of the sequels. It's really interesting.
And that's certainly something that can get out of hand, or not out of hand, but become defining of a movie in of itself. Because there are those movies, the first thing that comes to mind is Usual Suspects, which
I've never seen.
Classic. I don't know where its status stands as a classic movie now, seeing it as it is a Bryan Singer film starring Kevin Spacey. But that's...
Ooh, wow, that's a hell of a double whammy that I've never thought about until right now.
It was, however, it was a cultural touchstone for a long time. We can say that.
Yeah, it was
whether
a good
that's
movie.
True now.
It's a fine movie. It has a good cast otherwise. It's enjoyable. It, was decently popular, and it was one of those movies that became very well known because of the twist that happens at the very end of it. And it's a fine twist, I think. But, there are those movies that become known for, the twist that happens at the end. And, oh my God, you gotta see it. Do you know what the twist... And to the point where sometimes, the twist becomes the point of seeing the movie. And then once you've seen that movie, it's well, never have to see that again. Where there are movies, I think, notably, the most recent and best example for me is Parasite, where the twist isn't even, super duper... I mean, it is very shocking. It is very surprising, but it also makes sense so that the twist only elevates what came before. It doesn't completely change everything that came before, but it takes everything that came before and comes after and makes it more interesting and adds new meaning to it and new enjoyment to it. And so there are movies like that, which I guess. Psycho is one of those movies that has like a pretty famous twist. I still quite like The Sixth Sense.
I was thinking of The Sixth Sense, actually.
Yeah, I knew the twist to that one going into it, actually, when I watched it. And I still enjoyed it. You know, I still think that there are elements of that can be enjoyed. But I do certainly think it has a tendency to fall into that Usual Suspects trap of like, do you know what happens at the end of Sixth Sense? And it's like, yeah.
or like Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that, the twist at the end of Ocean's 11, I've watched that movie a million times, like, and it is no less satisfying.
Yeah.
Knowing what it is building up to makes me appreciate the structuring of the film, as opposed to feeling like I have... It's like video games with replayability or not.
Yeah. I don't feel, instead of feeling like, oh, they bamboozled me, rewatching it allows me to see, oh, cool, this is where they were laying all the groundwork to lead up to this thing.
Yeah.
Now
Holy
I
shit,
understand.
It's the difference between a well-written mystery and Stephen Moffat doing Sherlock.
Get him!
I was also thinking of Over the Garden Wall, actually, because
that's
the twist of Over the Garden Wall is like delightful and interesting and makes sense once you see it, and then when you go back, it's like, oh my god, so much of this, which like, you don't watch Over the Garden Wall for the first time and be like, there's something going on here. You're just like, I'm taking it for what it is, and then you watch it again, and you're like, oh, there was something going on here, and I didn't see it, but now that I see it, I like see all those pieces coming together, it makes sense.
Yeah. But the storytelling is strong enough to just stand on its own the first time through. Yeah.
Without that. Yeah. Which is like, I think is really delightful. And I think building blocks like that is something that can define I've been thinking about Fight Club this whole time. Fight Club has a similar like thing where the twist doesn't come in. And like, I think Fight Club also has that thing where like people are like, oh, the twist of Fight Club. Which is kind of a bummer. I like that movie, but I also understand people who don't like that movie. I lost track of my thought there because I was thinking about reasons why you wouldn't like Fight Club. But for me, as someone who does enjoy it, watching it again was very much like, oh, I see exactly kind of where all these pieces, like the pieces where the map fit together wrong, that lead up to like, oh, this is the thing that's going on with Tyler.
Yeah.
Which for me is very fun and cool.
I would like to see Fight Club again, because I've only seen it once, and I think I was very much burdened with that Fight Club baggage that it has, which is a very mixed bag of baggage.
Yes. I was lucky enough that I saw it when I had like, oh, I've heard a lot about this movie, but before I associated with like white man film bros.
Who are
so I walked
the
into I walked into it without a lot of the baggage of like Fight Club the movie, so I was very lucky.
Yeah, I also just like looking at this small incomplete list of movies that came to mind when I was thinking of like classics. I really also appreciate it when it's not necessarily a twist, but when something happens that is still surprising. Especially in horror movies or thrillers. I was thinking specifically of two moments in Rear Window and The Wicker Man, especially. The Wicker Man is because I think a lot of people do know what's going to happen at the end of The Wicker Man, because the movie is called The Wicker Man, and you're watching the movie and you're like, I don't see any Wicker Man. I wonder when he's coming in. And the poster...
Who is The Wicker Man?
The poster is literally... The Wicker Man with a guy inside of it, and you're like, what happens in this movie? It leads up to this the whole time, and that's the ending of the film. But because the acting from what's his name, Edward Woodward, who plays the guy who goes with the Wicker Man, his acting was so convincing about like knowing what was going to happen was so much worse that watching it actually happen and watching them go through with it and everything leading up to it as he's slowly burned alive inside this giant wicker man was actually really shocking and like kind of horrifying to watch. And it didn't, knowing what was going to happen didn't spoil the experience of watching it in any way. It was like, how are we going to get here? How convincing is this going to be? How deep is the pathos from this actor going to be in this particular moment? And there's another one, the one from Rear Window, that I still remember to this day the first time I saw Rear Window, because I think it was my first Hitchcock movie, and it was on Turner Classic Movies. And there's a moment where Jimmy Stewart, has been spying on them the whole time, and Grace Kelly, his girlfriend, goes over to the bad guy's apartment to get this piece of evidence, which is a wedding ring, basically. And the bad guy goes in there and tries to kill her. They call the police show up, and they're stuck there in this apartment, and she's trying to convince them that she didn't come in there to rob him. And we see through the lens of Jimmy Stewart's camera a close-up on her, knowing that he's watching, showing that she got the ring, and it's on her finger, and she kind of waves it at him behind her back. And the bad guy sees this and looks up directly into the camera, which is directly into our faces as the viewers. And when that happens, it was so shocking the first time it happened. And it's still, whenever I watch it, it's like, oh my God, because part of that is just the structure of Rear Window, where we are the voyeurs and we're in the place of the voyeur. So having that turned back on us and having the character look up and see Jimmy Stewart and vis-a-vis us is an extremely uncomfortable and terrifying experience. And that's not really a twist. That's something that, we should expect that at some point from this character, to see that he's spying on him. But following through with it is, I don't know, it's just a really satisfying movie-going experience. that surprise to it. Yeah. This episode kind of got away from what I initially, was thinking of like all the different ways to talk about it, but I like I like what we're talking about.
So it goes. No, I do too.
Something my dad uses as like, this is like his marker for movies about historical events and whether or not he thinks they were like done well, is like, are you making a movie about something where many people watching it know the outcome of whatever the situation is, and is it engaging anyway, then you've made a good historical film. Like a good film about a historical event. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's stuck with me. And so it's sort of a microcosm of the idea of like knowing what's coming, making you appreciate how you got there. Or something sort of feeling hollow
as
after you get to the twist.
The basis of my response to people who don't want to get into Shakespeare or who criticize Shakespeare for being unintelligible, it's not, or who have gotten the high school education experience of needing to focus on the plot for test purposes. It's not the what, it's the it's not the what, it's the how. It's not what is happening, it's how it's being told. It's the execution that really matters. Because you can tell the same damn story or similar stories with similar themes over and over again, but it's all about
me waving my old ass copy of Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces in the background and hollering.
Exactly. It's like, it's not about, what's happening. It's, I mean, of course that is part of it. It is part of it. But what matters is how it's being expressed. There's nothing new under the sun. I think a lot of writers, especially, I think actually Natalie Goldberg talks about this in Writing Down the Bones, where she's like, a lot of writers feel this pressure, especially after they've read something like Hemingway, where they're like, I'm going to try writing like Hemingway, which, God could never be me.
I mean, my immediate reaction would be, God, why?
Yeah.
But I'll keep that shit to myself.
You feel like you have a pressure to create something incredible, like entirely new every time you write. And it's like, her thing was like, there's not a whole lot that's new that hasn't been covered, like truly has not been covered in the, entire span of human literature and art and theater and what have you. It's what matters is that you're bringing your own voice to it and you're telling it from your point of view, because nobody has lived, your experience specifically. So it's going to be original if you tell it in your own voice. It's just a matter, whatever that may mean for any specific person, it's just a matter of doing that. It's the how. It's not, oh, I'm telling an unoriginal love story. How are you telling it? I think that applies to watching classic movies too, or any kind of movie. Like, no two people are going to have the same exact response to Casablanca or Van Helsing. It doesn't really matter what the movie is.
Get you a movie podcast that loves both, though.
Yes. I guess that's our ad for this episode.
Yeah.
That's our promo.
Yeah.
I think that's my thesis. Like, I know a lot of people do feel a certain pressure to, respond to a certain way to classic movies, and that's totally understandable, because you have lovely, amazing brains, as I said before, and they do absorb shit, and some of that shit is good for it to absorb, and some of it is like kind of annoying and gets in your way sometimes. So it's completely normal to feel that kind of pressure, but just know that, like, it's cool to not vibe with something, and it's cool to vibe with something, whether that's from the point of view of I'm having an emotional connection to this movie, and or I think that this movie is just really well made and I like to look at it and watch it unfold,
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, co-signed.
Yay, got an A+. The only time I ever...
The team has approved.
That's not true. I got an A+ on a couple of projects in theater history, but outside of that, that's my only A+ I ever got in college.
Helena, you always get an A+ from me, bud.
Aww.
I opened my mouth to say the exact same thing.
No! That's gay.
All right. On our podcast, couldn't be me.
Swatting you away with a fly swatter. But with love.
Gay and mentally ill. It's not like it's in the description or anything.
And extremely online. I don't know her.
Thinking about... Sorry, you put Singing in the Rain on here, and now I'm just thinking about
Singing in the Rain.
I fucking love Singing in the Rain.
I never get tired of that movie.
It's beautiful.
There's definitely, like, movies that I never get tired of because I think that and I think that lots of people never get tired of them. I mean, and then there's movies that I never get tired of just because they, like, cater to me on a very personal level. Which, you're allowed to have, like, your personal classics.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my sort of wrap up thought for this episode, since I think we're heading toward winding down. Is like you can engage with or not engage with the concept of sort of a film canon. It's the wild fucking west out here on the talking about movies with other people. Like there's no don't pay attention to like the movie opinions police. Just don't.
The American Film
agreed.
Institute.
Yeah, the American Film Institute can, as Madeline likes to say, suck every one of my toes.
You invoked her spirit.
I'm just saying, one of my strongest memories related to those, like, 100 years, 100 movies or whatever, is my dad just getting, like, fucking incensed every single time they were like, and the greatest American film of all time is Citizen Kane. Because my father hates Citizen Kane.
And especially because The Godfather is always number 2, just underneath Citizen Kane.
Which is like, really? Really? You did Citizen Kane like that?
Yeah. Look, Citizen Kane...
Godfather.
Kane, as it has come up on this podcast multiple times, is Citizen Kane, like, a pivotal moment in the development of film as a storytelling medium? Yes. Does it fucking stand up?
I don't know.
Questionable. I would like to see it... Known Citizen Kane hater, me. I would like to see it again, just to make sure I'm fairly assessing it, because I last saw it many moons ago.
Me too, that's
That being said, I did spend a lot of time being like, I'm bored. This is boring.
I don't remember finding it particularly engaging in a way that I like found engaging the other films that would show up right below it.
Yeah.
You know, Lawrence of Arabia would end up in the top 10. I mean, it's not an American film, but you know, it would end up in the top 10 or whatever, and I would just be like, really? Seriously? You think that that's less interesting than this? Like, fine, whatever.
I am
also,
a big
I don't know,
Joseph
embrace
Cotten
the idea
stan.
of having your own fucking personal film canon.
Yeah.
Like movies that mean a lot to you. Do that. Make your own canon.
I would like
multiplicity of canons.
I think that Citizen Kane is fine. I would also like to see it again.
I don't think that it's bad.
We've never said
the
that.
idea. I know. No, I resent the idea that like I have to think about it a certain way to as a bona fide to get entry into the like allowed to talk about movies with authority club, which doesn't exist.
Yeah, there is a certain expectation of like oh, you haven't seen why are you even talking about movies with me at this party? You know, that like a certain person would never say to me out loud for real, but you know, maybe that person is out there. I don't know. Yeah, have you had that experience?
No, sorry. I was just making a general, like, sound.
I, again, like, my comment on Citizen Kane is that there are some shots that have stayed with me. B, I love Joseph Cotten. What a guy. C, I think that The Third Man, which also stars Joseph Cotten and Orson Welles, is a very good movie. And I would rather watch The Third Man than Citizen Kane any given day of the week, but I should probably go back and revisit it just to make sure I'm not like, I don't know, playing myself. I don't know. But I can say that like I really love there is a sort of consensus amongst like certain echelons of film criticism that Citizen Kane is an excellent top-notch movie, and it should be number one on all of our lists. And I just, you know, that doesn't have to mean anything. You know, sometimes people act like that means the most of anything in the world, and it just doesn't necessarily mean that. Singing in the Rain is on a lot of AFI lists, very, very near the top, and like rips. I agree with that. You know, you gotta take what you can get, I guess. That's what Orson Welles said to me at a party once.
Helena, you just gotta take what you can get.
Yeah.
And that's what I said to you. I remember I was there.
Yeah, you were there. And that was right before he insulted Woody Allen and then talked for 10 minutes about bad commercials that he did on the set.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good party.
What a guy.
And you were there, and you were there.
Excellent.
I wish, God, the last... I just really viscerally remembered that I tried to make it... Was this during Monster of the Week where I tried to make a terrible joke about just, like, hearing the actress playing Glinda's voice in my head saying,
yes, are you good witch or a bad
bitch?
Yeah, you absolutely did do that.
Yeah, I got a good old chuckle out of that one.
For real though, Ezra, when you started that sentence just now and you said, I viscerally remember, I thought you were going to say, I viscerally remember also being at that party where Orson Welles told Helena, while cradling a martini,
bottle of vermouth,
you gotta take what you can get. Also, I fucking hate that Woody Allen character. He's a right loser.
Yeah, he said that to you.
He said that to me specifically.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was very neat.
Yeah. You ever remember he did a fucking Othello? That was fucked up.
Yeah. He wasn't alone, certainly, but that's not cool.
That wasn't cool for him.
Don't do that, guys. Come on.
Don't do that.
I shockingly, and I promise this will be the last thing I ever say on this episode.
Ever?
I didn't on this episode. I didn't actually talk about Stanislavski. Wow. But
I scrolled past that and I was like,
oh,
I thought Helena was going to hit us with the Stanislavski.
I am going to do that right now because it's a good segue. I just finished reading An Actor Prepares, which is one of his many books he wrote about his method. For those of you out there who don't know what I'm talking about.
One more again. His what?
This Russian character is Konstantin Stanislavski is the guy who invented the acting method that became very popular in the early 20th century theater that then percolated into American theater and then eventually American film in the 1950s. It has been widely distorted by a lot of modern and even some contemporary actors, largely because there's a big disagreement among his pupils about how to do it properly. But
the answer is not by being a weird, creepy asshole to your coworkers in the name of staying in character. I'm looking at you, Jared, whatever the fuck your last name is.
Oh, yes. The little boy from Fight Club.
Yeah, the one who gets the shit.
No, I know.
It's the only thing I care about.
His character's name is Angel Face, if I recall.
Yes. Or the only thing I know about the film Psycho, which is one of my friends from college making jokes about Jared Leto dissolving in a bathtub full of acid in Harlem.
Wow.
I don't know what the context is, and I don't want to know.
Yeah.
It's funnier this way.
Anyway,
also, he's in fucking Blade Runner 2. Electric Boogaloo.
That's the name
anyway.
of it,
yeah.
So in Actor Prepares, he uses a couple of examples of like different plays in discussing how to approach his method, and one of them is Othello, which is kind of like,
oh dear.
I'm reading it the whole time, and it never gets. Well, that's not true. There are times when it gets a little bit like, why are you talking about the character like this? Also, you shouldn't be doing this play. Rule 1. But that's,
at least not that character.
Different time, I guess. Not an excuse, just an explanation I keep having to give myself when I'm reading this book. But that was a segue into talking about him again, which was like, what I said earlier about bringing all of your baggage to it. He uses that example about he's very strict and quite honestly a little bit pretentious sometimes about how deeply an actor's first impression with a role can impact how he perceives the play. And he uses a bunch of different examples of like all of these different actors that are in this company and the first time they saw Othello and like where they were and like, did they read it? Did they see it? Was it the full play? Was it just scenes? Like, and he talks like specifically, I remember about this one person, imaginary person, a real person, who read it on the train like ages ago. And so he's like, all of his experiences with that particular trip were tied up in like the experience he had reading that play. And so that's like, that affects his first impression of it. And I find that to be actually, as I've probably mentioned earlier in this episode, quite true. Sometimes like where you are and how you're feeling really do impact how you experience the thing. Mm-hmm. Not the thing by John Carpenter, but yes, also the thing by John Carpenter.
But also the thing by John Carpenter, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the other one I was going to watch for Halloween this year because I've never seen it.
It's so good! It's so good. I will watch it with you at some point.
Let's watch the thing.
Yes!
Oh, I love it when you say it to make that noise.
when I turn into a bird. Yeah, I think that there is. We talked about this last episode, maybe, or I think it was last episode. We talked about like having a perspective on something based on like how you were feeling when you viewed it for the first time. Like I think you went to go see like When Beale Street Could Talk or something, and you were talking about, I want to rewatch it because yeah,
because I had I went to go see it after serving like 12 hours, or not 12 hours, but like 8 hours of jury duty.
yeah. And I think that's the thing that maybe we should consider more when we go in and watch stuff, and this ties back into the thing we said at the beginning of like being aware of kind of what your situation is. That's not really the word I wanted, but you know,
like just
specifically when I go to movies, if I have a large group, I seat myself between friends I know I will feel comfortable with. Like when we went to go see Star Wars, I did sit between you and Leia, and that was on purpose.
Yeah,
because I knew that you guys were going to be able to emotionally support me whatever happened.
And we did,
and you did,
especially during the forbidden kiss.
Yes, I was going to say you and I did experience several emotions together at one point. I mean, I guess the whole movie was the two of us experiencing emotions, usually in tandem.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, to expand upon your point, I think it's like, oh God, I promised that would be the last time I spoke, and I didn't. I broke my promise instantly.
That's all right. This could be like probably a good ending thought for us.
Yeah. I think it's about being in conversation with yourself. And just being aware of like, and being receptive to what's happening. And if you're not being receptive, or if something is like, if you're feeling disconnected from the movie, if you're feeling uncomfortable with the movie, and this can apply to like anything. And it can also apply to like, you know, watching a movie and being aware when something is going to emotionally trigger some unpleasant things for you as well. Like just being in conversation with yourself and how you're experiencing and how you're receiving something. And in terms of, you know, the enjoyment you're getting out of it, that can be about, like, why am I having this reaction to it? Why do I feel emotionally disconnected? Why am I not being moved by this particular thing? Maybe not that so much, but why is this not working for me? What am I feeling right now? Where am I at? You know, just not disassociating, essentially. Trying to not disassociate in a dark movie theater is always a good idea, but that it's that kind of idea, like just being aware of what you're going through, because the movie isn't responsible for that, right? The movie can't know what's going on for you, so it takes two to tango in a way. Like the movie's job is to just be there and be what it is, and I wouldn't call it a job, but I guess it's your position as the viewer to be like, here's how I'm feeling today, and maybe it's good for me to be aware of that and keep that in mind when I'm watching this particular film. But I wish it didn't sound so clinical how I phrased that, but you know, you get my point.
I know what you mean though. And also like being aware of like situationally, like, you know, I'm at home, I'm watching a movie I've seen a million times, and my expectation for this movie is I'm going to put it on the background and I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm going to be doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Or I'm in a movie theater, I paid to be here, I am in a setting with a lot of people, many of whom I don't know, and I don't know what they're bringing to the table. You know, and based on the first like 15 minutes of this experience, I can tell that, you know, people are not goofing constantly. You can get a vibe when you go see a movie of what the audience is gonna be like.
Oh,
or
absolutely.
Maybe, you know, like when we saw Knives Out, like there was mostly serious, but there was some goofing, and that was just like the audience, and that was the vibe. You know, that was not the vibe for some movies I've been in where people were goofing, and I'm like, why are you goofing right now? That is not the vibe of this. There are clearly people in this audience who are not goofing, and one of them is me.
Yeah.
The Goofmeister is being serious right now, so second, take it down a notch.
Knives Out was an incredibly great experience in that way, because like now my perception of Knives Out is always going to be tied with that first viewing I had of it, which was an incredibly responsive audience that laughed uproariously at almost every single joke.
And like reacted appropriately. Like when the family did shitty stuff, they were like, oh, no. Like, you know, that was investment. That was people who were like recognized, like, I'm going into this movie and I'm expecting I'm going to be emotionally involved. And sometimes that being emotionally involved means being angry for the characters and also making fun of Daniel Craig's accent. Like, you know, every time. Who hired me? Every time.
I was waiting for it.
I remember.
I think of that guy.
Sorry?
No, go ahead.
No. Did you have something? I'm so sorry.
No, I didn't have anything else. I just think of that every time I watch that movie.
I just remember in that particular viewing that one moment when oh, what's her name? The teenage girl, the college girl, Meg, calls her when she's having that conversation with Chris Evans, and then she hangs up on her before she finishes talking. And as soon as Ana de Armas assures her, like, don't worry, I'm going to take care of you, I'm going to pay for your college, she's like, okay, great. And then she like hangs up on her, and somebody in the movie theater went, oh no, she did not, like something like that, like a really disappointed, like, oh, and then when the camera, of course, panned out to reveal that, in fact, the whole entire family had been listening to the conversation, it was that general, like,
Yeah, there were multiple people, I think me included, who were like, betrayed on her behalf.
Yeah.
You know, movies whip, I think, maybe. I think they're pretty good sometimes.
I certainly hope so, Maddie, because we've had a podcast for quite some time now.
Almost 2 years, I guess.
That does have the word movies in the title.
At the movies, yeah. But what do I know? I'm not a movie person.
Well,
no.
Again, I have to ask.
Are you sure?
I do spend I do spend a lot of time editing this podcast. You think I would be at least kind of a movie person, maybe.
Yeah, I think you can give yourself some credit there.
Yeah. They sent me, I got the card the other day that, like, they give to people with movie podcasts that says certifiable movie person. So that was really exciting. It only took over a year and a half for mine to arrive.
Yeah. Well, that's the case. That's usually how it works, That's
shipping is really weird during COVID right now. So
and film people, and like Screen Actors Guild, Actors Equity, they're all like that.
It just so it just happens like that sometimes. Excited. I'm gonna put it up on my wall, like how you would mount a stag's head. So that's gonna be cool,
like Gaston does.
Yeah, just like Gaston. That's kind of the idea.
Underneath it.
Yeah. I use podcasts in all of my decorating. Yeah. God.
All right. Someone close out this episode. We're not getting any funnier than that.
It's time for us all to go the fuck to sleep or something.
Ugh.
Thanks for hanging out with us here on Sneople at the Movies from the Infinity Break Network. Check out infinitybreak.net for more awesome content, and come hit us up on Twitter at people_snake, or shoot us an email at sneopleatthemovies@gmail.com. Our amazing music was done by Johnny Ronaldo, who you can find at Johnny Ronaldo on Twitter. Our super snazzy logo was designed by Bethany Luthold. Check her out at bethanyluthold.wixsite.com. If you've got a subject you want to hear us talk about, a movie you think we absolutely need to see, or your favorite classic that deserves the title, come say hello. Also, if you can, please leave a review on iTunes and share the show with any friends you think would enjoy it. Any way to spread the news helps us so much, and we really appreciate it. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the movies.